Welcome to Southern Sense Talk on Rumble. You are going to love Annie the Radio Chick-A-Dee Ubelis and her co-host, C.S. Bennett. You'll find them live here on Fridays from 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Date Time. Check out their website at Southern Sense, as in commonsense.net. It's that easy, southernsense.net. So sit back and relax. They're informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey.
Hey, welcome back to another adventure here live on Southern Sense. I'm your hostess with the least mostest, Annie, the Radio Chick-A-Dee, along with my co-host Curtis, C.S. Bennett. Oh, good afternoon, Curtis. Whoa, so much is going on, and I don't know even where to start.
Well, let's start with the intro. I never seen that intro before. It's really nice. Is that like AI?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I was playing around and I said, let's get a new intro. Let's get something fresh that will get people to subscribe to us and start viewing us and clicking on us and saying, hey, it's a great show. I want to see more of it.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, we have some great guests coming up today. We have Jake Lang. Jake Lang is a J6er. He has also spent the longest time behind bars, arrested shortly after the January 6th in 2021. And he has been behind bars for 4 years, 6 days. He has never been gone to trial. He has never been formally charged. He spent 4 years and 6 days behind bars. And the story he tells is unbelievable. The work he did, even while he was behind bars, shows his patriotism, his faith, and his love for the country and his love for God. So we're going to have him at the start of the show. We're also going to have Paul Kamenar. He is the lead counsel for the National Legal and Policy Center. So he'll be talking about lawfare, J6ers, DEI, immigration. We can go anywhere and everywhere with them. And then followed at our closing with Michael Letts, who is the founder of Invest USA, that provides the vests for law enforcement, for first responders, as well as a lot of other things that they do also. So we got ourselves a great show, a lot to do, and a lot to talk about. Wow.
Yeah, so much has happened, especially nationally, and with the confirmation hearings and crash in D.C. and it's just never ending.
No, there's a lot to be talking about. I've been following it. I had actually turned the TV on maybe just moments after they began to broadcast the news about the crash. And I've been stuck to the TV watching, and it seems to be pilot error due to the helicopter. And there's numerous videos people have tagged, some people privately, some official, showing the explosion. And it is really, truly horrific. Because you think about this, Black Hawk was armed, most likely. So not only do you have two aircraft colliding with the fuel, the aviation fuel in there, which is highly explosive, but if they had armaments, I can say that 3 times fast, on that helicopter, that would have probably explained for why there was a secondary explosion. Because if you watch the video, there are 2 explosions. And the plane broke up into 3 places. And the water still had ice on it. And the possibility, if anyone were to have survived, hypothermia would have struck them very, very fast. Here you're in shock, you're injured, you're in freezing water. A normal, healthy person can last, they say, 60 to 90 minutes with hypothermia. But in such an instance like this, I don't even think you'd last 5 minutes. I mean, 67 people lost their lives, and someone will get to the bottom of this. But,
and the thing about it is,
prayers.
The thing about it was they were like maybe 15 seconds from landing.
Yeah.
That close.
Yeah. And I was listening to some of the aviation audio, And at one point, it seemed to me, I heard as if the passengers themselves were panicking. They must have seen. Can you imagine these passengers? Because when you're going to land, I'm telling you, just about every single passenger lifts the window shades and stares down to watch you approach. To have seen that helicopter below them and coming at them.
I can't imagine.
No. But we'll find that this new administration is not going to let the truth be hidden. So my prayers and my condolences go out to the families that have been suffered. There were people in the terminal waiting for their loved ones to show up.
That's the other sad part, waiting and getting that news. It's not like it happened like 300 miles away or out to sea. I mean, it's right there at the airport.
Right. And to be looking out the window, because sometimes you watch the planes approach. Yeah. And matter of fact, there's a park they closed near the airport, which a lot of people would go there to watch the planes come in and out, watch them land and take off. They closed that. Oh. All right. Well, we had, like I said, we have a lot to talk about and a lot to say about. But the confirmation hearings seem to be starting to sail along. RFK, bless his heart. I mean, you watch Trump's appointees, how they are so calm. Kash Patel, I just love watching this man at work. So let's see what happens. I'm hoping that we'll have a good confirmation hearing and everything else. Well, that said, those that come and listen and watch the show know that we dedicate each show to a fallen hero. And today's dedication is going to go out to Police Officer Jamieson Ritter, the Cleveland Division of Police in Ohio. His end of watch was Thursday, July 4th of 2024. And this dedication is courtesy of News 3 at 4 out of Cleveland.
Officers attempted to arrest the male when the male produced a firearm and began firing multiple times.
Shot and killed in the line of duty.
I think it's numb for quite a period of time. No one expects to have that knock on the door or the phone call, come to the hospital.
This afternoon, we are remembering a hero, 27-year-old Cleveland police officer, Jamieson Ritter.
Pray for the men and women of our police department, especially as we celebrate this 4th of July holiday and the freedom that we have in this country.
And welcome to 3 News at 4. I'm Russ Mitchell, along with Christy Paul, on what has been a tragic 4th of July in our area.
Yeah, it's a devastating day for Cuyahoga County. Early this morning, Cleveland police officer Jamieson Ritter was shot and killed while responding to a call. And we do know that the suspect is in custody at this hour. We do have team coverage for you this afternoon. Annabelle Childers learned more about Officer Ritter's background. Stephanie Haney, meanwhile, is digging into the suspect's history. Let's begin now with Matt Rascone with more on what happened this morning and the message from Cleveland Police. Matt, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Russ and Christy. This is where Officer Ritter worked out of, the 3rd District Police Station. And you can see behind me, his memory is on full display outside of the station right now with a cruiser, balloons, flowers, stuffed animals, and signs. The chief told me that what happened this morning is what can happen whenever her officers put on the uniform.
So our men and women are out there every day.
Serving, protecting, and this morning in the 1500 block of East 80th Street, putting their lives on the line to get a man wanted for felonious assault off the street.
They risk everything they have to protect the community.
Officers responded to the call around 1 a.m. and attempted to make contact with 24-year-old Delonte Hardy.
We had information that this was potentially a violent felon that was wanted, so we had multiple officers on scene at this incident.
Chief Annie Todd says Hardy ran out of the house and jumped on a bike. Officers followed and attempted to arrest him when she says Hardy pulled out a gun and fired several shots.
It was just like that, boom, boom, boom. That was it.
27-year-old police officer Jamieson Ritter was shot and killed.
This is the first time it ever happened on the street, so I was really shocked. That was it.
Leaving behind a heartbroken family.
I can't even begin to express how they feel. It's absolutely devastating. There's nothing that I can say to them that's going to make it better, but I can tell you that we will 100% be there for them and support them.
Cleveland's officers are now in need of that support as they mourn the tragic killing of one of their own and investigate the moments leading up to it.
Pray for the men and women of our police department, especially as we celebrate this 4th of July holiday and the freedom that we have in this country. That freedom depends on the men and women of our police department.
This is the second police officer killed in Cuyahoga County in just 2 months, the second time we have seen a scene like this outside of a police station in the area in Northeast Ohio. And so just such a difficult time for law enforcement across the area. And Chief Todd told me this is a time to put aside criticism and to really show support for officers during this time. They need it. They deserve it, she said. And
let it be said, when we finish this race, we kept them free, we led with grace. Let it be seen, from sea to shining sea, beautiful America, living our legacy. Oh, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for the next generation. Let us be known as people of honor, humble and bold, faithful through fire. Let us hold firm to our convictions with wide open hearts, eager to listen. Oh, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for the next generation. Let us make room. Let us reimagine, welcoming voices with true compassion. Let's craft a world with hopes and dreams, challenges known and those still unseen. Oh, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for the next generation. Let us be sure, when our time has come, we gave them hope, we made them strong. Let it be said, when we finish this race, we kept them free, yeah, we led with grace. Oh, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, sister, brother. Oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for the next generation.
All right, and we're back. You're live here with Southern Sense. We're up on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X. We're up on Rumble. Yep. What is this one? This is Getter and WordPress. Yes, my website, which is southernsense.net. You can watch us live on southernsense.net, as well as post on there too, because we do have a chat room open. We do have a chat room open. Yeah, it is open.
All right.
And I myself did not sign into my own chat, which I'm going to do right now. I apologize. What is my password?
Democrat.
Oh, jeez, never. How dare you? How dare you? Oh, man. I'm trying to find out where our guest is. He was supposed to sign in and get a hold of us. Let's see. I'm just trying to get a hold of him. Bear with us, folks. This is live. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, just sent it to her. So hopefully Jake will call in a few moments. Background on Jake Lang is that he was there. He never actually went into the building. He was on the outside. And he was also near the tunnel where Ashley Borland had died. And he was over there trying to help get her out, help save her. And they accused him of assaulting police officers, which he did not do. As a matter of fact, the officers were willing to testify on his behalf, saying, no, he didn't hit anyone. He didn't do that. And he sat behind bars, never formally charged, threatened, put in solitary confinement, abused, moved I don't know how many times, cut off from his attorney, from his family, from talking to anyone. And he was there for over 4 years, 4 years and 6 days. And Trump released him on this past Tuesday.
You know, you would think that some really scholarly constitutional lawyer would have took up this case pro bono and challenged the Biden administration, because, I mean, to me, this smacks of harboring political prisoners here. This is the United States of America. You know, we don't do things like that, but apparently we do under certain administrations.
Oh.
And I think that's what the people have missed, people that step up to the plate and challenge the left. And I think that's one of the reasons why they love Trump so much. I mean, not only does he challenge them, he take the fight right to them.
Yeah. We need to. We need to take the fight right to them.
And he's been a target himself. Big time, ever since 2016. With all these impeachments and assassinations attempts and all of that. It just shows how far the left is willing to go to maintain their power and influence in the Beltway. Now, I really do think his plan to break up these bureaucracies where they're all centralized in the DC, Beltway area and spread them across the country, I think that would be really great. And that will help weaken that, what you want to call it, that protecting, each other mentality. We protect ourselves and our friends mentality. spread them across the country, they're going to have to hire people that live in those areas, and that means some of those areas are going to be conservatives. So it's not going to be like the bureaucracy is dominated by all progressives. And I can't wait for him to do that, you know.
Well, let's see what happens. And I'm trying to get a hold of his agents to see if I can get him to sign in. Everything was okay just a few moments ago before we went on air, and he's not with us. Anyway, what's going on with the J6s? And there are a couple that turned around and said, no, we're not going to accept the pardon. They want to go. They want their day in court. They want everything that happened to be exposed. Now, Jake wrote a book about it also. The book was called Political Prisoner and details everything that he went through. I'm surprised they were able to publish it with the fact he was still behind bars at the time when he was doing it. And if you remember that they had the I got a brain fart. When the political prisoners were behind bars, every night they would sing from their cells.
I heard about that.
Patriotic. And I do have that because they did make a video of it with Donald Trump on it. And it's called Justice for All. Let's play that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, that is a powerful video, and they made that several years ago. But, you know, it gives you an idea of what they went to. If you noticed, the beds that they were lying on were concrete slabs. Some of them only had just a blanket, no mattress, nothing.
I mean, I think they got treated better down in Gitmo, the terrorists that we had down there.
Well, we recently had the wife of one of the J6s on just about, I think, 2 months ago or so. And in a 2-year period, he was moved 13 times. Now, how do you get your day in court when you're supposed to be getting ready to go into court or see your attorney or have your family come visit you? They move you. And they have no way of knowing, the family and the lawyer has no way of knowing where you just got moved to. Now you got to find out. Now you got to turn around and get all new ways to gain access. And then next thing you know, they move them again. I mean, it was such a friggin' mind game that I believe one of them had committed suicide when they charged him with the felony. And rather being sent to prison for all the years they wanted to, killed himself. I mean, I'm not gonna name names or anything, just giving you an idea of what these people have gone through. And our Constitution says that we have a speedy trial. 4 years later, and there's still no trial for Jake Lang? 4 years? You got to be kidding me.
Not only
That's not
that,
the United States. That is not the United States.
it seems like Biden had compassion for, say, like, for instance, cop killers, rapists, because he pardoned them big time. And I mean, even if the J6ers were guilty of some of the things they were accused of, it never amounted to, you know, the harm these people that he pardoned did, like kill people and whatnot. So
You
just
know,
goes to show you it's all political with Biden.
it is. It is. It is. And right now they're interrogating. I can't even say this is an interview or it's interrogating Cash
Confirmation.
Patel. Yeah,
Mhm.
not a confirmation here. This is an interrogation of Cash Patel. And I mean, God bless the man. He's standing strong. He is standing committed and strong. And we need someone like him in there. We need a strong DOJ, which we now have with Pam Bondi. We have, I mean, at the plane crash, within minutes, we have Trump's appointees in position and acting with knowledge, authority, and compassion. I mean, it is unbelievable such a tragedy, and then to watch who Trump chose and then how swiftly they act. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, you wouldn't find him until a week later. But our new Transportation Secretary, they're Johnny on the spot. So
It makes a difference when you put policy before people. And apparently that's the way they governed on the last 4 years. Policy, you know, took front line when it came to executing what they want to do. And people were not even considered. You know, so that's why we have high food prices. We have high energy prices, gas prices, all this woke stuff. Because with them, their agenda matters, you know, not the suffering of the people. And all that backfired on them back in November. It has been building up. And I think it's been building up before Trump during the Obama years. Trump gave it pause. But when I think about it, maybe it was a good thing that he didn't get back in the second time, because it gave us a chance to really, you know, see what the Democrats were really about.
Mhm.
And that worked to our favor.
Yeah, I have to apologize. I'm looking at my own face and I see a huge glare from my glasses. So bear with me as I switch them.
We saw the corruption. We saw
That's better. That's better.
we saw the no accountability whatsoever. I mean, look at Hillary Clinton and what she did to her hard drive and things like that. You know, she never got held accountable for any of those things. So I think that's going to change now. And it would be nice to see some of these people held responsible for what they did. You know, this isn't about revenge. It's about accountability on my,
Yeah.
you know, my part.
I mean, I'm watching these hearings, what little bit I catch going in and out, because I'm always like a one-armed paper hanger busy all the time. But what I do catch, it's like, are you, the Democrats are going, are you going to do lawfare on us? Are you looking for payback? Well, why didn't you freaking think about that before you did those things to us? You know? Before you turn around and you put all these J6s behind bars on bogus charges, I mean, things that were just a simple fine for trespassing or a tiny little misdemeanor being built into 20 counts or more of felonies. That's obscene. And why didn't they think about that before they did that to us? But do you see any of us doing that back to them right now?
Well, I think they were so sure that they was going to win that they didn't care. They didn't think about it. They didn't have a plan B. If you look at what's going on during these confirmation hearings, they are releasing their vitriol the most at RFK Jr. and Gabby Tulsa. So, and the reason I believe they're doing this is because of the fact that these were Democrats at one time, and now they're supporting Trump, and that's betrayal to the left, and I think that's why you get all this emotional hatred. And I just feel sorry for both of those candidates. They're having everything thrown at them. And
Yeah.
that Bernie Sanders boy, he's quite a character, you know, all high and mighty and trying to take the high ground and being moralistic.
You
all
watch
of
some
them.
of these, like Pocahontas.
They're her too, screaming and yelling
And-
like a mad woman.
Yeah. And to watch them get so pent up and
Worked up,
screaming and
yeah.
yelling, and they're yelling at them for the very things that they did themselves. You know, when JFK said, "Hey, listen, you guys did make money off of these drug companies." That's true. Insider trading. We know that you're there in the Congress or Senate. You got access to insider trading, and they do it. Do they get prosecuted? No. How many go in there with barely having maybe 50,000 in the bank and walk out of the Congress and the Senate as millionaires? Nancy Pelosi? I mean,
All of them seem to make out. Al Gore, Bill Clinton, Hillary,
yeah.
Obama. Trump is the only one that hasn't taken a check. He's donated
No.
it, from what I hear.
He donated his salary the first term, and he's doing it the second term. And they're going after him because he could earn money off of foreign sources. Well, there's the emolument clause that basically states that if you're going to become president, you've got to turn around and take whatever it is you're making money on and turn it over to someone else. You can't touch it. You can't be involved with anything that's going on there. Someone else is going to handle your business affairs while you're sitting there as president. And there's a group out there. They have a website. Impeach Trump Again is the name of the website. And they're already trying to do articles of impeachment on President Trump.
Well,
And
he
this
did
is
turn it over
barely
to
2
his
days
sons.
into term.
He turned it over to his sons when he became president the first time.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what's their complaint?
No. The lawfare they have done on President Trump, the lawfare they have done on J6s, and the lawfare that they're attempting to do on everyone else. I mean, how many times have I gotten kicked off of Facebook and YouTube and everything because I said something against the COVID vaccine? I medically cannot take the COVID vaccine. And whenever I tell someone, like I say, you speak to your medical specialist, whether it's your doctor or whatever, nurse, whatever. You talk to them and you make an informed decision with them. I'm just telling you my personal experience. And next thing you know, I'm off of Facebook, kicked off of Facebook. I'm kicked off of Twitter. I'm kicked off of YouTube. I'm kicked off of anywhere else, or I'm shadow banned because you dare to question authority. You dare to say, hey, listen, I got a problem here. If I get the jab, I have a very strong chance of dying because I have a cardiac condition. That's why my doctor said, don't take the jab. My mom, at the time it came out, she was 89 years old. Doctor said, no. With her medical conditions, I do not recommend it. And we didn't. Did I get COVID? Yes, I did. I was sick for all 5 days. And I'm okay.
Well, just think about those people who lost their jobs because they refused to take the jab. Now, of course, those in the military, it seems like they're going to be
Offered
compensated.
reinstatement.
But what
Offered
about those in the
reinstatement and back
private?
pay.
What about those in the private sector that said, no, I'm not taking it, and were released? What's their remedy? Maybe they got some civil suits they can file. You never know. I mean, when you think about it, they have a lot that they can turn to bolster their claims, because you have some of the high tech giants saying that, you know, the Biden administration forced our hand. You know, they told us to do this, in other words. So anybody that went against the message that the White House was sending out about, you know, the vaccines and COVID and this, that, and the others, if it didn't jive with that, you know, you had to be censored. Your voice could not be heard. So yeah, if that had happened to me in the public arena, I'd be filing a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you do things like that, you have to have discovery.
Yeah.
A
Now,
lot
there
of
was,
stuff will come out.
I came across a list of colleges that still have it mandatory you get the jab. And one of them is just south of me in Savannah. And that's, I'm
To do
sorry,
what?
if this,
To attend? To get
to
accepted?
attend the, yeah, there, I think it's a list of 10 of them. I don't have it in front of me, but I do know one is a college just nearby here out in Savannah, Oglethorpe, that still mandates the jabs.
Let me get that to Trump. That'll end
So,
right
you know,
the next day.
you have it not just in the government sector, but you have it in the private sector where it's still being mandated. I'm walking around and I'm seeing people putting masks back on. I mean, we know that the air filters through the mask. The masks don't do anything, honestly. They make you feel better, but they don't do anything. I was looking up a friend of mine recently, a dear friend of ours, passed away. And when I was looking for information on where, you know, the services would be, I came across one funeral home, and the person that passed away, the family is mandating everyone wear a mask.
Now?
Yeah, now.
Way after
Um,
COVID?
Well, there's some new something going around, but it's nothing more than harmful
What,
than a common cold.
the bird flu? That's all I've been hearing.
I don't know. But also now everyone panics. What happened with COVID, it turned around and took the public mindset and put everyone in fear. And now government's mandating what you can or cannot do. And when they turn around and put one of these warnings out, now people are all of a sudden like, oh no. There's a new one coming out. I got to put a mask. I can't come near you. I can't go out. I can't do this. I can't. Guys, we've been dealing with diseases since the birth of man. We've survived.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we wouldn't be here today if we didn't survive the pandemics of the past. I mean, going back to Neanderthal.
Oh, you know, it's a public panic, but it's also a multi-trillion-dollar industry behind this. And you think about that. The pharmaceutical company is going to go on there and they're going to push, and I still see places pushing for the COVID jab. You still see people pushing for it. And it is a multi-trillion-dollar business. But what we're learning about, the corruption and all the little games they played, it was to make money, to scare us into complying. And that's all it is. I've got to say, I am honored and I'm happy that he finally figured out how to work a computer. We want to welcome on as soon as he adjusts his camera so I see nothing but his nose.
His beard.
We need more of your face. The beard is nice, Jake. Just get your whole face.
Push it away. Push the camera away.
And he's going to join us. Jake Lang will be with us in a moment. There was some confusion, I guess, in how he got to log in. So, Jake, as soon as you adjust your camera, I'll get you back in. There we go. Here we go. The one, the only Jake Lang. And you got a new website. Wait a minute.
How's it going, Jake?
Hey, what's up? How we doing, my friends?
Which is your book, Political Prisoner. You were the founder of j6legal.org that helped the J6ers with their legal expenses and everything. You also had the sponsor, j6.com, so that when you guys were there, someone could put the money in the commissary so they can have something to eat and some snacks or whatever. But despite the fact you spent 4 years and 6 days behind bars, you were still fighting. And that's amazing. Still doing things. You wrote a book too.
Amen. God put a good spirit, a relentless heart in me, and cultivated my character throughout the adversity that I went through and all my brothers went through. And I think that in America, one of the blessings, right? We're like the land of second opportunities and second chances, and so we believe in this country that men, even who have been through incredible trials and fiery trials like I have, can learn from it. And I'm not saying I did anything wrong on January 6th. I'm just saying that being incarcerated, it can be a make it or break it type of thing in your life. I met many men that became very dejected, not just Jan Sixers, but like, just regular everyday, people off the street that allowed incarceration to overcome them, and environment there that is designed to really break a man down. Make them lose their human capacities and spirits and almost turn into, like some jungle animal kingdom that was in there. But, through prayer and through reading the Bible and staying close to Jesus Christ, I was able to overcome all my enemies. And here I am now, guys. By the way, I'm at the DMV getting my driver's license because I had no ID. Look at that line there. So you guys are with me. You guys are currently with me as I resettle into society. I've only been liberated for 9 days now. And so I'm, still, I got a sunburn for the first time. I haven't had any sun in years. 4 years and 6 days I was incarcerated without a trial.
So what were you charged with?
I had many different charges. First they charged me with only 4 different counts. And then when I refused to testify against President Trump, they superseded me with 8-count indictment. And then when I refused to capitulate to a plea deal, they superseded me with 12-count indictment. And some of them were some very weaponized and politicized charges, like the 1512 obstruction of Congress charge. That's a 20-year maximum felony charge. They use that to really browbeat and kick and hurt us into submission, because it's a very serious charge. It's a 20-year felony charge, but we took it to Supreme Court and we beat them in Supreme Court. And so, we proved in that the federal prosecutors, the George Soros prosecutors, are extremely politically motivated in everything they do, and they'll even overcharge you with charges that were inconsistent with our actions that day.
Well, we're going to have also another person join us, Paul Kamenar. He is the attorney for the National Legal and Policy Center. So we got a legal analyst to help you while you're here.
I know, Paul.
Yeah. Hey, Jake.
Hey, Paul. God bless you, sir. You stuck by our side for these last 4 years, and we appreciate the fight that you've had for us. When many people turned their back on the Jan Sixers, we had few friends in the foxhole, and you were one of them. So thank you, brother.
Thank you, and hats off to you, Jake, for all the good work that you've done.
Thank you.
Jake was on the show actually 1 year ago on January 6th, if you remember, Jake. And after that, I couldn't quite get you back on. But once you got freed, I said, let's get him back. But I was ironic that it was on January 6th that you were here. But what I also played Justice for All by Donald Trump that showed you guys in the prison and what you were going through. That was a video that was put out as you guys were singing. People don't understand what you put through, the conditions you were under, the solitary confinement, the mistreatment. How many times did they move you?
Annie, I was moved 17 times. Sorry. And was mistreated at every facility. I was put in solitary confinement for over 900 days. These are, atrocities that if they happened in another country, America would be openly condemning the treatment of human beings. But because they happened 2 miles away from the United States Capitol, under the guise of, dirty, deplorable Trump supporters, it seems that the entire Washington, D.C. political establishment turned a blind eye to our suffering and our inhumane treatment.
Now, Paul, he's got the pardon, but is he able now legally to now vote or purchase a gun, or does this inhibit him anyway?
No, absolutely. All his rights are restored. He can vote, and he can also own a gun if he doesn't.
Mama.
What's that?
Mama.
He's got his mom with him.
Yeah, my mom's about to show up here.
Oh, good. Well, take care.
Yeah, we're gonna say hi to my mama here.
Hey, she's a beautiful lady. Beautiful lady.
This is what we fought for. This is America that makes all of us cheer. I mean, if you guys seen the videos on my social media, me being reunited. What's that? No, I've been in line. All right. I'm sorry. I am at the DMV, guys. I'm gonna pop out when I'm done doing this. I'm gonna pop back in, but continue your conversations. I'll be here. I'm just going to mute myself for a second so I can deal with restoring my life, getting my life back on track. The FBI came and cleaned me out of everything. I don't have, they took like Dr. Seuss or whatever, their Grinch Stole Christmas. They took everything, even the ham in the fridge.
All right, Jake, you take care. We'll see you in a bit. Okay. Jake Lang is stepping away for a little bit, but that was a pleasure. This is actually live, so you never know what's going to happen, right, Paul?
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, it looks like my screen is frozen, so I can hear you, but can you hear and see me?
Oh no, we got you perfectly fine. So it's got to be on your end. As long as you keep talking, we get your beautiful face here too.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, Annie, I think we were going to talk about birthright citizenship. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things we were going to talk about, and also the downfall of DEI.
Okay.
I'm part of the executive board on our county GOP, and our meeting on this past Monday, the question of birthright citizenship came up because our attorney general, a friend of mine, Alan Wilson, was there as our guest, and he was trying to explain birthright citizenship, and people don't completely understand it. When the 14th Amendment was created, and I'm just letting the audience know because you are very well versed in this, the intent was to allow those that were slaves to be free and be able to participate as full American citizens. The intent was not to allow someone coming to visit, not a resident, not a legal resident, to take that birthright citizenship. It was to only correct the wrongs that were done. And it has been twisted and turned to the point where we have birth tourism. We've got women coming pregnant from China, flying in, usually to California, having their child, getting that child's citizenship, and going back to China with the child. That's not American citizenship or what the 14th Amendment intended, is it?
Yeah, that's correct. And the executive order that Donald Trump signed a week or so ago made it clear that this so-called birth tourism does not make a person eligible for citizenship. The other clause in there, and the one that is the main one that's being challenged as well, is if the mother is an illegal alien and the father is not a permanent resident, that child also is not a citizen. So there's 7 lawsuits pending right now challenging it. One in the state of Washington, the trial judge there issued what's called a temporary restraining order, basically saying I'm putting a halt to this without even having the Trump attorneys file their papers explaining why the executive order is valid. So there's going to be some more filing and arguments early next week, and eventually that case and the ones in the other 6 or 7 jurisdictions will work their way through their various courts of appeals, and ultimately the Supreme Court will decide this issue. But going back to what you said about what the original intent was, Yes, that was enacted after the Civil War to restore rights to the freed slaves, because that followed the famous Dred Scott decision, where the court ruled that slaves were property of their slave owners. They were not citizens, and they could be bought and sold and moved around from a slave state to a free state and still be subject to the slave owner's jurisdiction. So that was the intent. Go ahead.
Well, I keep the Constitution with me. As you can see, I've got several different copies of it. One of them I've been carrying since 1976. And that one I got, when I was in high school. And I've had this, it was usually in my purse until it started to fall apart. But the 14th Amendment, it starts off, and this is where people are really arguing that you are a visitor or you're an illegal alien. This is the clause they use, that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States.
Yep.
Now they're saying once they're here, they're now subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. But no, you're neither born nor were you naturalized as the slaves were.
Well, yeah. Now the argument is that, well, they were born in the United States. So the question is, what does, quote, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, end quote, mean? And the argument that the Trump is making is that means, or the other side is saying, well, you're subject to the territorial jurisdiction. Yeah, we agree with that. In other words, if you're here illegally and you commit a crime, you can be prosecuted, even if you are an illegal alien or you're here on a tourist visa or what have you. So, but it's not territorial jurisdiction you're subject to. The intent was, are you subject to the political jurisdiction? Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is, do you owe your allegiance to the United States? And to give you a quick couple examples to explain how this works, if an ambassador from a foreign country is here with his wife, or the wife's the ambassador, and they have a baby here on U.S. soil, is that baby a U.S. citizen? After all, the baby was born in the United States. However, they're not subject to the political jurisdiction of the United States because they owe their allegiance to the foreign country from whence they came. Another example, American Indians. Well, wait a minute. They've been here before us. You mean to tell me they're not citizens? Well, they weren't after the 14th Amendment. And why is that? Because it wasn't until 1924 that Congress had to pass an act called the Indian Citizenship Act that says Indians born in the United States are citizens. Well, you say, well, wait a minute. 14th Amendment, they were born here. Yep, but they weren't subject to the political jurisdiction of the United States because they owed their allegiance to their tribes, which were sovereign type autonomous agent, governments. So therefore, the argument is that these illegal aliens here, well, first of all, the easy one is the birthright tourism. They're here just to have the baby. They go back to the country where they owe their allegiance. The illegal aliens that are here, they're not naturalized, and they don't owe their allegiance to the United States. They may owe their allegiance to some cartel that brought them in here, or their foreign country, etc. So that's the argument. Now, to be sure, there are a lot of cases that are against that proposition, but that's because over the last 100-some years, it's been misinterpreted to mean that if you're born in the United States and you've got a birth certificate, bingo, you're automatically a citizen of the United States. But I think the better reading of that, if you look at the constitutional and legislative history of that provision, as well as these examples I just told you, that can be properly interpreted. So the question is, once it gets to the Supreme Court, is there 5 votes on the Supreme Court to rule in Donald Trump's favor?
Well,
Oh,
there's a couple of precedents on this because I think back to prior elections. John McCain was not born inside of the 50 states. He was born on a base, but his parents were there at the base. Therefore, even though he was born outside of the United States, because of his parents and their duty station, he became
Right.
an American citizen. Same with
Right.
Ted Cruz. I believe Ted Cruz was originally born in Canada, but
That's
because of
correct.
his parents and everything, because of their allegiance to the United States, he was an American citizen qualified to run for president. So now if we reverse this and say that you're here visiting, you're say from Germany or Italy or Greece, and
Right.
you have your child here, and your parents are German, whatever they are, you are still a citizen of that place. And a perfect example is my current husband. He was born in Gitmo, in Guantanamo, in the hospital there. However, his parents were both citizens of Cuba at the time.
Mm.
So therefore, his birth certificate said he is Cuban. He did become a naturalized citizen with the rest of his family when they escaped in 62, but still it made him a citizen. So when we take that, all that what we have done in the past, that is already precedent set. So this should be a win-win in the Supreme Court, right?
Well, it should be. You give a couple examples, but then you have to look at the past case law and past pronouncements by the Justice Department. The decision that the other side keeps citing and relying on as their main argument is an 1898 Supreme Court decision, a Wong Kam Jim, it's a Chinese case. And what happened there was the parents were permanent residents of the United States. Their son, who was 21, I believe at the time, went back to China to visit some relatives, came back to the United States through San Francisco, and they said, sorry, you can't come in. And the reason being because at that time, there was a law called the Chinese Exclusion Acts. These were laws that kept out Chinese immigrants because of their cheap labor coming to the United States. So they stopped him and said, well, you're Chinese, and we're keeping all these Chinese immigrants out, so you can't come in. Well, then he went to the Supreme Court and won because the Supreme Court said, well, wait a minute. Your parents have been here for many, many years. They're domiciled here. They own a business. You were born here. You just went back to your home country to visit. Even though you're born here, that wasn't your home country. Let me clarify that. To see some relatives. And therefore, that does not mean you are not a citizen. So they take that case, which has a lot of nuance to it, as I just said, and they interpret it meaning that, oh, Supreme Court's already ruled. If you're born on this soil, you got a birth certificate from the hospital, bingo, you're a U.S. citizen. So it's that kind of case law and how it's been interpreted since then, because since then, the State Department's been giving passports to anybody that's born on U.S. soil, except for diplomats' babies. But even birth tourism, they've been passing out passports to the babies saying, yep, you're born in the United States, bingo, 14th Amendment, here you go. Now, that's where it's said. Now, the United States is, there's a few countries that have what's called birthright citizenship. Canada, I think, for one, some South American countries. But the European countries used to have that, but they saw how it was being abused, so they changed their laws. I think Ireland changed theirs in 2008. France and Spain changed theirs, etc. So if you go, and visit on a vacation to Ireland and you're pregnant and you have a baby there on your vacation, that baby is not automatically an Irish citizen. So it's a birthright tourism if that can be made clear, like some countries, but here in the United States, it was qualified by that phrase, quote, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, end quote. and
Yeah.
that's what has to be litigated.
Well, we got Jake back. If Jake just puts his face back in the camera, here we go. Jake, you're upside down. There we go. Hey,
It's
you got your? Do you have your license now?
close. You know, now we're in this. I mean, if I show you guys this scene, that everyone is gonna get goosebumps. Oh, dun dun dun. We're in this part. We're in this part of the waiting period now. But you know, it's just these are blessings. It's so funny because coming out of prison after the amount of time I did, things that people don't see as blessings, I see as huge blessings, like the ability to sit right now. I
Yeah.
did not have. I was in 6 months solitary confinement without a chair. And so the only place I could sit down to eat my meals was on the floor, or you had to eat your meals in your bed, sitting on your bed. And you don't want to eat, you know, your food where you sleep is just inhumane. And also eating on the floor is inhumane. So, um, you know, this is the kind of stuff that we had to endure. And so it really reframes your understanding of what's a blessing and what's not a blessing, the ability to sit, just even being this close to my mom right now, like you know, these small things. Other people would be such a dreadful, oh, I'm at the DMV and stuff. I'm like, I'm at the DMV.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't imagine the feeling that you have, even the ability to walk out a door without someone saying, wait, without having to be cuffed or anything. Just the freedom to go where you want, what you want, and to be able to say what you want without someone turning around and getting back in your face. That's the true American freedom. And that's what you're fighting for. And that's what Paul is helping you fight for too. I cannot imagine. I mean, I'm retired law enforcement, so I've escorted people into prisons. And I was always glad to be back outside, but I can't imagine spending 4 years and 6 days nonstop.
Without a
God bless you.
trial.
Without a
Not
trial.
a trial. Yeah, and that's one of the things I wanted to mention to Paul too. You know, when we were talking earlier, I mean, you know, the thing he said applies to 1,500 other January Sixers, but I'm one of the only ones that was held without a trial, and so I never
That's
lost my rights, and I never was convicted of a crime. You
that's
know,
right.
and that's also one of the craziest parts
Good
is that
point.
they treated me like I was convicted of a crime the entire time. When they threw me in solitary confinement, when they took away my freedom of speech, when they, you know, treated me the way they treated me, I mean, I was still a free man, unconvicted of any crime. And so it was like a double agree. You know, this stuff would be considered horrible even if they did it to a death row inmate. You know what I mean? Let alone a man that is just purely on pretrial detainment.
Well,
Right.
Jake, do you have any civil recourse?
Yes. So right now, my new organization, Federal Watchdog, that's kind of like the organization that all my other January 6 J6 Truth and Sponsor J6 and everything that we do has spun together to kind of just arise out of the ashes of this incredible nightmare, like a phoenix, this awesome anti-lawfare organization. And so we have a $50 billion lawsuit ready to be
Wow.
filed. Yes, with some very, very prestigious attorneys. I'll message you, Paul, in a little bit
Yeah,
because we
please do
haven't
that.
filed
Yeah,
yet.
send me some information.
So
I'd like to
is
touch base.
this a premier announcement about the lawsuit? Has anyone else you tell on?
Well, no,
Is this
what we've done, we've put it out on the Gateway Pundit for the plaintiffs to sign up for it, but we have not announced as far as like we have filed yet. And here is like, look, read the actual legal briefing. So that has not been filed yet. Right now, what we do is we have 600 Jan 6 plaintiffs signed up, ready to rock and roll. And so the legal team is going over. I mean, because you have to understand the causes of action on this thing are so varied. You have people that went through chemotherapy while incarcerated. You have people who had they were pregnant, right? The daughter, the wife, sorry, was pregnant with the daughter or son, and the man had left home and not been able to come home until their son or daughter was 4 years old. I mean, how do you put a financial restitution on missing the first 4 years of your child's life, not being able to be there for first steps and first words? I mean, so we have to, you know, label out all of these different recourses, think about all of the different, I mean, disparagements on our name from the January 6th Select Committee, from the FBI, you know, military-esque raids, the solitary confinement, the illegal, you know, pretrial detentions. I mean, there are so many different like levels of injury and different classes as far as categories of what, like for example, I went through 900 days of solitary confinement. The settlement that I'd be receiving would be different than somebody who had like 3 months of probation. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of work that needs to be done to actually put numbers and figures behind, mental health
All right.
disorders. I never, by God's grace, developed any, but some people developed PTSD and agoraphobia, and other horrible mental health deteriorations. And so there are many different things that we're going to be addressing in this lawsuit, and it's going to be big, and we're coming after them hard. But the beautiful thing is, we're not against a DOJ that is uh, diametrically opposed to us anymore. We're probably going to walk in there and be able to work out a settlement agreement that is going to be amicable for all the parties almost immediately, instead of having some like long 3-year drawn out,
Yeah.
court battle. Hopefully the Pam Bondi Justice Department with Harmeet Dillon running the Civil Rights Division, who are both friends of our movement and a personal friend of me with Harmeet, we'll be able to just come into a back room with some of our attorneys. Maybe we get Paul in there because he's got great stature, and you just say, hey, here's what the Jan Sixers went through. Maybe not $50 billion lawsuit, but let's settle at, 20 billion or 10 billion or something, that gets the Jan Sixers paid out. For example, if we end up getting 1,000 plaintiffs on the lawsuit, which is probably where we'll end up, and there is a $5 billion payout, that's $5 million each, which seems about right for what we went through. 900 days solitary confinement, 4 years of my life disappeared. So I mean, $5 million would probably be the least I deserve. God forbid. I mean, I deserve nothing. I'm just a child saved by grace by God. But the government deserves to have punitive damages and also restitution damages awarded, taken from them and awarded to the Jan Sixers. So we're coming. We're definitely coming.
All right. Well, Jake, people can find you at j6rebuild.com to find more about that. And Paul, they can find you at the National. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I wanted to get Paul's response to that because he seemed
Oh
like he
yeah,
had some
no,
insight to
I
give me.
understand. Yeah, Jake, I'm looking forward to the draft of that. I just wanted to add that I already have a lawsuit pending. It's been there almost a year on behalf of J6er Victoria White. You may know her, Jake. She was
Yes.
the one that was pushed into that West End tunnel where there's 50 some cops shoulder to shoulder, and she was savagely beaten over the head with the metal baton some 35 times. She's punched in the face 5 times, all bloodied. She was like pushed around like a rag doll in a pinball machine. And then they dragged her out the back way and went down to the DC police station. In the cold night, she was hoping she'd get some medical treatment, but there was nobody around. So they said, well, look, we're just going to let you go. So she went out in the shivering cold, called a friend, picked her up, went back home to Minnesota. And of course, several weeks later, boom, FBI breaking in her house. You're under arrest. They indicted her for assaulting a police officer, entering the Capitol.
With her face? With her
Huh?
face assaulted. Her face
Yeah.
assault. This is not a joke either.
Right.
Her face
Yeah, I
assaulting
know.
a police officer's fist or something. I mean, I
Yeah,
was a personal witness to that.
It's crazy. And so we got that suit pending. The government, it's the DC police. It's not the federal Capitol Police. So jurisdictionally, it's a little trickier when you go after the DC police because you have a 3-year statute of limitations from the time of the injury. With the federal Capitol Police, you have to jump through some hoops, as you probably know, Jake, within 6 months of the injury to file a claim notice, and then wait 2 years and file a suit. Anyway, I'm sure the attorneys you have are looking over how to overcome any of those jurisdictional hurdles. But I'm looking forward to seeing your suit. So anyway, Andy, I've got to go here in a minute. So.
Okay.
Can we wrap it up?
Yep, we can. And they can find you, Paul, at the National Legal and Policy Center.
Yes.
Yeah,
the website is nlpc.org, O-R-G, nlpc.org. We're a small ethics watchdog group here in the DC area. We go after the woke corporations, and maybe next time we could talk about DEI, Annie.
Yeah.
We go after Black Lives Matter. with complaints and so forth. So please check us out.
Okay. And Jake had to go, so I want to thank you, Paul, for joining us. We'll get you and Jake back on. Okay.
Sounds good. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. God bless.
Paul.
And we had waiting very patiently our friend Michael Letts. Good afternoon, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Ann.
I do mean to call you because I
Hey,
do
Michael.
want you at our Tea Party meeting, probably because I got someone in February from Palmetto Promise. So maybe look at you coming in March. How's that sound?
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
All right, great. I do have your phone number.
Good. Make sure you keep it. You know, there's plenty of things going on and awful lot to talk about. That's for sure, Ed.
Oh, that it is. You have Invest USA, which helps first responders, law enforcement especially, to get the equipment and vests that they need. And you do that where you have the blessing of the vest and everything else, what people can find at investusa.org. But I wanted to talk to you about what's going on, because you're involved here with the local law enforcement. You are a chaplain to, I believe, the state police, correct?
Correct.
So you still have your fingers active in everything that's going on. And I saw Alan Wilson just on Monday, and he was talking about a lot of things to our county GOP. And one of them, people are all asking about illegals in sanctuary cities in South Carolina. Now,
We have a lot of them.
Technically, in South Carolina, Alan said that we don't have any. But you and I know that's not exactly true.
No, that's not true at all. I mean, we'll use Richland County, the state capital, Democratic sheriff, Democratic control. We know we have a lot of illegals here, but yet they're not being reported to ICE or to anyone else. And quite frankly, a lot of times law enforcement, some of these sheriffs will utilize them for kind of, I'll help you out and not notify the feds when we pick you up, and you turn around and do something for me instead. And that's, of course, you remember Jimmy Metz got accused of that when he was the sheriff of Lexington County. And, the feds came in and investigated, and he was forced to resign, among other things. And, we have the same situation here in Richland County. We have an awful lot of Hispanics that live in South Carolina, as you're very well aware of, Van. Many, many of those are illegals. Yet we don't see anything being done about it. And the reason why is because it's kind of kept behind the scenes, hush, hush, by a lot of the Democratic sheriffs. And it's time to expose that, and it's time to reveal that. And here's why I say that with such emphasis, and is you cannot have selective accountability. I mean, if you're going to do this across the country, we can't say South Carolina is exempt. Quite frankly, the same standard needs to be applied anywhere in America, and especially here in South Carolina, and it's not. And it's time for the feds to get involved.
That it is. And under this new Trump administration, we can help see it. Because I know the sheriff real well over here in my county, and he's not someone that's going to tolerate that. And
Correct.
As soon as he does get someone into custody, he does notify INS. I know that when I was in New York City, we were prohibited from informing ICE that we had someone in custody. It's still the same way in New York, where their hands are tied. You knowingly have someone in your custody who broke the law, and you're processing them for an arrest, and you know them to be a fact and legal, but you cannot ask them for a detention with INS, so they can be deported.
Correct. And you wonder what the payback is, shall we say. You wonder why they're not enforcing the law. We've all too often found out that there's an awful lot of favors that get done. Taking care of property for the county, taking care of property for the sheriff, making sure that they support him during re-election and provide labor to get out signs, et cetera, et cetera. All that's got to come to an end because, quite frankly, this administration, the Trump administration, is determined to root out corruption at all levels, state, federal, local. And quite frankly, I'm very glad to see that the administration is pushing the Department of Justice and will be pushing the Bureau once, of course, Pam and Cash are finalized with their nominational vote. And we're going to make sure that it's not just draining the swamp, it's draining corruption all across America. And that's going to be a great day for us, quite frankly.
Well, this is not something that's new. And I can say that for a fact because in 1989, a friend of mine, Bob Machadi, was murdered by an illegal alien who was deported 3 times personally by an ICE agent who is a friend of mine. And when Bob Bisciotti was murdered, this ICE agent was in the forefront to make sure he got a hold of him. And this was in the 1980s. So this is not a new problem. It's
Correct.
only now it is so bad and so huge that it's exacerbated our safety.
Well, I think, and you hit on a key note there. In the past, you had a lot of illegal immigrants that were just coming to quote unquote better themselves. They were, working in Mexican restaurants or this, that, or the other. No, they didn't pay taxes, and it was all done under the table, which would be a detriment to the American taxpayers because we're having to pay for their education, their children go to school, etc., and they're not contributing to the system. But at least they were not going after and attacking American citizens. That's changed because once they realized the criminal element, how easy prey we were, and how easy it was to come into this country illegally, they began to flood our borders. And of course, they had the support of the Democratic Party, those with the liberal bias opinion, and they poured in, and then they did the same thing they've done in their countries. They began to commit crime on the people that they were closely associated with. And that's when the American people said, you know what? Whoa, what is happening? How come all these crimes continue to skyrocket and elevate? And then once we begin to take a hard look at it, Ann, you begin to look at the statistics, you begin to realize a lot of these crimes are being committed by illegal aliens that had come into the country. And that is when the American people took notice and said, well, it's one thing they're coming in illegally. Yeah, we're having to pay more taxes because of the fact we're helping to educate their children, etc. But once they begin to be personally affected by the crime, that's when America went up in arms, and that's why you had the advancement that you had on the last election, and a clear mandate being said, enough's enough. We want it to stop, and quite frankly, you can't have it stop by being selective prosecution. You can't say we're only going to go after those who have a criminal basis, because quite frankly, every one of them is a criminal that breaks our laws when they come in illegally to begin with.
Exactly,
Michael,
exactly.
It doesn't seem like the left have learned their lesson from the election. Do you think they are making a big mistake of opposing Trump's plans to send all these people to Gitmo, these criminals?
I think they're making a huge mistake because, quite frankly, here I believe where the American opinion is at is we are tired of being victimized. We're tired of having to pay for our own tax dollars, and on top of that, you're using that to benefit them and not to support Americans. Enough is enough. And here's where they're at, the American people. Government, do whatever is necessary to fix the job and to fix the position. In other words, if you have to send them to Gitmo, send them. Send them whatever. If we have to go across the border to covert operations to go after the cartels, do it. Do whatever is necessary. The American public is to that point now. Do whatever is necessary to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution says you will defend against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And quite frankly, they're enemies of the American people. When you come in here to kill our people, you're an enemy. I don't know how else to classify it. And that's one of the things the administration has done so effectively in its first 9 days is it designated the cartels and others as terrorist organizations, which, puts it on a whole different level. It allows military intervention as well. Once they've been designated as that, quite frankly, they're going to keep that designation for a long time to come with more people being added to it. Don't be surprised if you don't see BLM, Antifa, and others added to the list.
That's about time. Long overdue. You had mentioned about the illegals using our Social Security numbers, and I know for a fact it happened with a friend of mine. Her purse had been stolen, and the next thing you know, she was coming of the age where she was applying for her Social Security, and they're showing her earning wages that she never worked. And then how you have to fight that. So yeah, it's been affecting us for decades. It's only now it's gotten so bad. And the fact that an illegal alien can come in here and with each family member, they get a ATM card, all
Correct.
stacked with nice little goodies. They get housing, they get medical care, they get education, they get whatever they want. They get placed in hotels that tourists can't go into anymore. They get placed into apartments and buildings that the people have to leave. I mean,
Correct.
they're basically stealing from the taxpayer. In the
They
past, when
are.
you came and emigrated here, you had to have a sponsor. You had to have a place to work. You had to have a place to live. You could not be on government dole for 5 years. And you must swear that you were going to work for your citizenship.
Correct. You know, all
But that
that has
was taken
changed, Dan.
out
That was taken out.
1972. That's taken out 1972. We need to go back to that.
And I think all of America would agree with you, Ann. We are not, unlike what the mainstream media attempts to portray us, we're not uncompassionate, cold-hearted orgs. What we are is a nation that welcomes immigrants, but welcomes them to come to be a part of America, not a separate entity. And we've gotten away from that. We've allowed them to come in. They don't have to do anything. The government takes care of it. They don't have to learn our culture. They don't have to learn our language. They become their own communities unto themselves. And quite frankly, you can never survive. A nation divided cannot stand. And we're allowing them to be a nation divided by creating their own systems, their own culture, their own language, and their own laws. You know, quite frankly, many of them believe in Sharia law and they want it to be implemented for them first. They want it to be implemented for the rest of the country. We're not going to do that. It's simply a matter of just say no. And what you see is you look at what happened in Europe, in Germany, in France, and others. Now you see, and in England, isn't it amazing that you as an English citizen get penalized, put in prison, etc., if you criticize the illegal immigrants for coming in and taking your jobs and using your tax dollars and harming your family and your children. It's just gotten so ludicrous, Ann, that the American public see that and they say, I'm not going to let that happen here. And that's where we're at today.
Well, England is starting to finally wake up, just finally,
Correct.
because there were 3 fathers that went to rescue their daughters that were being groomed by these Pakistani men to be hookers, the prostitutes. They found one girl, and she was, I think, 13 years old, with a bunch of adult Pakistani men around her, unclothed, drunk, and she gets thrown in jail because she's a minor drinking. But they were grooming her to become a toy.
We have lost all common sense.
Fathers got jailed for trying to rescue their daughters from this sexual abuse.
You know, you would think never in America, but we're headed down that path real fast. Thank God that we have a new administration and a new president that is going to attempt to right the ship. But I'll tell you what, Ann, these first 9-10 days that we've been involved, I've been involved with the Trump administration and what we're doing on illegal deportations, et cetera. It is shocking how entrenched the liberal mechanism and liberal mindset is to try to oppose this. You know, something that's not being reported on mainstream media in the first 10 days. Yes, we've picked up roughly 1,200 illegal immigrants, gang members, Tierra de Acuera, MS-13, cartel members, and villains from other countries. Roughly 1,200 a day. We need to get that up to 5,000, and we're working on that. But what is not being reported is we have rescued over 120,000 kids within the last 10 days. I mean, that's huge.
And there's estimated that they know of 320.
Correct.
And if we already in 10 got 1/3 of them.
Already
how many
with
more above that 320 the government has been saying?
Well, quite frankly, and what we really feel like the numbers are, they're more like 700,000. 7 to 785,000 is what we're predicting. And, you know, but we picked up 120,000. And here's what I tell the American people. Here's how this happens. We went after the child sex traffickers to be able to free and rescue these kids. And by being able to go in and rescue these kids, we picked up drug cartel members, gang members. Why? Because the 2 biggest money makers in America, or illegal money makers, are drugs and human sex trafficking. And so when we target those, we find it's like a 2-for-1 bonus. We not only do recover the kids, but we're able to pin down and get a lot of these scums, what I call it, off the street, into shackles, and then sent back to their countries. I find it ironic that Colombia said, no, we're not going to take them. Mexico doesn't want to take them back, but they have no choice because, of course, they got upset that we brought the first load on a military plane. We have a detention center in Las Vegas. We're processing most of them. and we're bringing in military transport, C-130s and M5 or C-5 Galaxies. And what we're doing is we're putting them in shackles, leg chains, and arm chains, and then locking them down in their seats for the transport. And the Colombian president got mad. That's below the dignity of our people. I said, well, quite frankly, these are criminals. Yes, they're from your country, but they're criminals. They don't deserve the dignity, as you mentioned, because they're criminals. They have murdered and killed and raped American citizens. I said, second of all, we're not going to transport them to your country on a luxury airline, give them a 5-course dinner on the way, and run the risk of them deciding that they're going to try to overtake the plane and cause a crash and kill innocent service members who are attempting to do your job and transport them back. We're not going to do it, period. End of discussion. You either take them back or we're going to run up the tariffs and cut off economic aid. Took them about 30 seconds to figure that out real quick. Suddenly they decided those planes could land. But that's where we need to be. It's time to start exercising our authority and our power and our sovereignty that this country once enjoyed without debate years ago. We're bringing it back. Thank God for that.
Well, Michael, we are actually out of time. I'm sorry we went over with Jake Lang and Paul, but it was great to see Jake finally free. So we have to get you back real soon, I promise. And I will get
We'll
you
look forward to it.
And we'll line up in March so that you can come on down.
Thank you,
God
Ann, for
bless
what
you,
you're
Michael.
doing. Thank you for telling the truth. People need to hear it. God bless you and God bless America.
God bless. Michael Letts, you can
All right,
find him
Mike.
at
Take care.
investusa.org. Okay, we'll talk soon. Curtis, that's it we got for today, and we got to run because the clock is run down completely. So,
All
folks,
righty.
we'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat station here. I would say good night and God bless.
I'm praying for this land I love, America, America, the home of the free. But there are people making plans to change America. They've no respect for her or what matters most to me. That's why I stand for the flag and I kneel at the cross. Mourn for the friends I have loved and lost. And I still believe with God we trust, and the freedom our forefathers granted us. I hope it's not too late to save America. Do you hear our battle cry across America? We've got to rescue her. You know it's up to me and you to see the truth behind their lies. Don't change America. God bless America and the red, white, and blue. Why I stand for the flag and I kneel at the cross. Long for the friends I have loved and lost. And I still believe in God we trust, and the freedom our forefathers granted us. I hope it's not too late to save America. For the friends we have loved and lost, and we still believe in God we trust, in the freedom America. Save America. Let's save America. Together we can save